Welcome back to Applied Wisdom. This marks the final module on culture called Bad News is Good News. This module explores another element of your culture, your relationship to bad news. Do you actively welcome it or do you avoid it? Let's start with the power of finding out about bad news quickly. Nonprofits are in the business of tackling tough challenges, addressing poverty, improving education, and protecting the planet. The passionate, smart, and empathetic people who work in the nonprofit sector are filled with optimism. This can make it uncomfortable for them to acknowledge a looming crisis. To be successful, a leader must master the ability to perceive, acknowledge, and respond to threats, as well as opportunities. It's important to celebrate successes, but only up to a point. You can't bury problems or refuse to address negative issues. So the saying goes, good news is no news. No news is bad news. Bad news is good news, if you do something about it. Why is good news no news? Because it doesn't tell you anything that you need to act on. And no news is actually bad news because it may mean things are too quiet. Bad news is good because it points you to problems that you can then address. Anytime you try to do something, it's not going to be perfect. You just don't know how it's not going to be perfect. The only way to find out is by moving into action and being alert to problems that will naturally appear. The phrase, bad news is good news, means that you're finding out quickly what's not working, accepting the bad news as it hits, and adjusting accordingly. Cultures where bad news is accepted as good news are the fastest moving. They don't have tense employees hiding problems or pointing fingers. Problems are welcomed as natural signs of progress, not as signs that someone messed up and can no longer be trusted. Progress is made when problems are discovered and acted upon. As a leader, always listen for and even seek out signs of trouble. Bad news is an opportunity to innovate or explore a strategic shift. Here is Michael Elliott on this topic.
So bad news is good news. I have a very recent and relevant example. My organization is in the process of changing our name, which is a big deal and really complicated and a lot of work. We've been the Valley Medical Center Foundation since 1988, and we're going to be something else this spring, and I'm really excited about that. And one big part of that is rolling out a new website, and we had our big review last week. And in consulting with some key stakeholders, we realized that something on the homepage was really, really off. It just something was totally different and has to be redone. And it's going to cost us probably a couple months, which isn't great. But the insight that it gave us is so meaningful and will have such far-ranging impact on everything that we do. And in short, we fell into the trap that a lot of nonprofits fall into, I think, which is we're so excited about our work and we know so much about it that we sometimes we can't control giving too much information. We just assume if I just keep explaining all the wonderful things we do, you're going to give. And we forgot to center stories of impact and stories of giving in a way that will motivate the donor to give, which is really what my organization is focused on, raising dollars to support our public hospital system. We could have gone live with a bad website, and that would have been the worst possible outcome. So again, it's bad news, but the insights we gleaned and the eventual outcome from that bad news will be very good news for the organization.
How you receive and respond to negative news is one of the most effective ways you can shape the culture of your organization. Use the bad news exercise in your workbook to reflect on your relationship to bad news and see if there's anything you decide to change. Remember, bad news is good news if you do something about it. In the next section, we'll get into something called porpoising. Think of it as your own early detection system for problems. See you there.